Hi everyone, it's Karolyn here, and I'm super excited to share another My Favorite Things release class project with you. It features the new Drifts and Hills stencil and some pretty darn cute forest critters from the new Dashing Deer stamp set. But before I get to my card today, I wanted to give you a short demo on the Drifts and Hills stencil. It's the newest addition to the MFT background building stencils, and it joins the Cloud Edges, Mini Cloud Edges, the Radiating Rays, and the Snowfall stencils. They all combine to make the perfect background building repertoire that no crafty collection should be without. The new Drifts and Hills stencil will assist you in creating all occasion slopes and hills for every season. As you can see, the Drifts and Hills stencil includes 4 different edges. You just move it from edge to attain the variation in your slopes and hills. Here I'm blending some Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn Distress inks to create the perfect setting for farm animals, trees, and flowers for just about any happy occasion. For the best depth and dimension, I found it best to hold the stencil in place with my fingers and blend the ink away from the stencil. This way the darkest part of the hills is at the top, allowing the color to fade out towards the next change in elevation. You can add as few or as many hills as you'd like. This stencil makes it super easy. And going back over an area to make it darker or to add additional detail is really easy as well. Just slide it into place and go to town with your ink blending. And cleanup is super easy. You just wipe it down with a wet rag or a chamois, and it's ready for your next ink blending session. I thought it'd be fun to continue building my background by adding additional detail with the other background stencils. Here, I've left the Drifts and Hills stencil in place, and I'm adding some mustard seed and picked raspberry distress inks in the upper right-hand corner. No masking needed. Next, I'll place the Radiating Rays stencil right on top of the Drifts and Hills stencil, and can add some detail to my sunrise by blending a bit more mustard seed. Now I'm blending some tumbled glass for my sky, and we'll add some puffy clouds by blending some Mermaid Lagoon over the Cloud Edges and Mini Cloud Edges stencils. Seriously, could this be any easier? What's amazing is that you have awesome depth and dimension all in one layer. I'd personally like to thank the brilliant minds behind these background building stencils because they've made my ink blending life a whole lot easier. And this is just one way to use the new Drifts and Hills stencil. For today's card, I'm going to use the Drifts and Hills stencil to create some soft, subtle snowdrifts. I've placed the stencil onto a 4 1/4 inch by 5 1/2 inch panel of smooth white cardstock, and I'm lightly blending some tumbled glass just along the edges of the Drifts and Hills stencil, and just enough to add a hint of color. You can see that each edge offers a different perspective in elevation and slope. I just rotate the stencil from edge to edge for variation. And I'm blending the color away from the stencil, just as I did with my green hills. Next, I'm adding some falling snow by again lightly blending some tumbled glass over the top of the Snowfall stencil. I adjust the stencil just slightly and then add some texture paste with a palette knife. You can add just a hint of sparkle to your snowflakes by sprinkling some warm diamond glitter over the wet texture paste. I'm using my tweezers to carefully remove any stray bits of texture paste that seem out of place, and then I allow the paste to fully dry, about 5 minutes or so. For some stitch detail, I'm die cutting the stitched rectangle from the Blueprints 24 die-namics. Now I'm stamping the deer, rabbit, bird, and mistletoe images from the Dashing Deer stamp set onto some Copic-friendly white cardstock using black licorice hybrid ink in my Mini Misty. I give the lid of my Mini Misty some good pressure with the palm of my hand to make sure all the ink is transferred, and then I'll die cut the images off camera using the coordinating Dashing Deer die-namics. Next, I'm stamping the sentiment from the Dashing Deer stamp set onto some poppy cardstock. I'm inking the stamp up with some Sweet Tooth pigment ink, and I prep the cardstock with my powder tool. And then I'll heat emboss the sentiment with white embossing powder. Lastly, I'll die cut the sentiment using the Slanted Sentiment Strips die-namics. I've trimmed a 4 1/4 inch by 11 inch card base from some grout gray cardstock, and I'm scoring it at 5 1/2 inches. I'll fold it in half and perfect the crease with my Teflon bone folder. I've added some foam squares to the back of my image panel, and I'm adhering it to the card base. And now it's time to start assembling my card. You'll see that I colored my images off camera with my Copic markers. I've listed the specific colors that I used in the class PDF. I'm adding foam squares to the back of each of the images, and I'm adhering them to the image panel. Oh my goodness, I'm madly in love with the cuteness of these adorable little winter creatures from the Dashing Deer stamp set, and I'm completely enamored with how my little scene is coming together. I adhere the sentiment strip to the upper left edge of the image panel with more foam squares. And there you have it, a sweet and serene winter landscape created easily with the new Drifts and Hills stencil, paired with the cutie critters from the Dashing Deer stamp set to create a precious holiday card. Thanks so much for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll give this technique a try. Be sure and check out the other October release class videos for more great content, and have an awesome day.